On May 24, 2025, the town of Malden, South Carolina, was just beginning to stir with the rhythms of a late spring weekend. Located in Greenville County, Malden is one of those places where families feel safe leaving their doors unlocked and where people wave to one another at red lights. It's the kind of community where tragedy is often thought of as something that happens elsewhere. But on this particular Saturday morning, tragedy came home. Just before noon, a disturbing emergency call was placed to the Malden Police Department. A witness had seen a young woman being forced into a car, a blue Subaru Impreza. The man who shoved her inside had a firearm. The incident occurred in full view of daytime traffic along a busy corridor of highway. The woman did not appear to know where she was being taken. She didn't go willingly, and within moments, both she and the man were gone. The victim was soon identified as 24-year-old Taylor Jennalee Mirage, a resident of Greenville County. Taylor had no criminal background, no enemies, no reason to be targeted. Her family described her as thoughtful, quiet, deeply creative. She had a passion for photography and had recently started talking about applying to design school. She had dreams of doing something meaningful. The suspect was identified later that day as 38-year-old Nathan Orlando Cureton, a man with a documented history of erratic behavior and minor run-ins with the law. Nothing, however, that had resulted in a lasting criminal record or close police supervision. What tied these two individuals together? That would become the central question haunting investigators in the hours and days after the abduction. By 12:30 p.m., less than an hour after the incident was reported, law enforcement had traced the suspect's vehicle to Interstate 85 in neighboring Anderson County, leaving behind almost no opportunity for prevention. The initial investigation confirmed that Taylor and Nathan knew each other. But what exactly was the nature of their relationship? Authorities were cautious not to speculate. Some early accounts suggested a past romantic involvement. Others hinted at a relationship that may have involved coercion or manipulation. Taylor's friends said she never spoke much about her private life, but some believed she had been trying to distance herself from someone who made her uncomfortable. There may have been red flags, unreturned calls, sudden visits, a feeling of being watched, but without formal reports or restraining orders, there was little the system could have done to intervene. One of the most chilling elements of this case is the planning involved. Cureton had a weapon. He waited for a time when Taylor was vulnerable and alone. He chose a vehicle and a route he knew. This was not a spontaneous outburst of emotion. This was an act of deliberate, premeditated violence. In the days following Taylor's death, the community of Malden came together in mourning. Memorials were held. Flowers, candles, and notes lined the sidewalks near her home. Her family released a public statement. Taylor was light. She was love. She was everything good about this world. We are shattered, but we are grateful to the people who have shown us compassion in this unimaginable moment. The incident reignited important conversations about domestic violence, stalking, and the limitations of intervention. Cureton had no prior felony convictions. His name did not appear in any registry that would raise alarms. And Taylor, like many women, may have felt unsafe without knowing where to turn. Experts on domestic violence warn that the most dangerous moment in any abusive relationship is often the moment when the victim attempts to leave. If Taylor had tried to cut contact with Nathan Cureton, that act alone may have been the trigger for his violent response. Psychologists examining the case point to a disturbing pattern. Men like Cureton often exhibit controlling behavior masked as concern, demanding to know who someone is with, where they're going, questioning friendships or social media interactions. Over time, this can escalate. And when control is lost, some perpetrators respond with rage. What makes this story even more tragic is how quickly it unfolded. From abduction to murder and suicide, it took less than an hour. The system had no time to react. By the time officers located the vehicle, the damage had already been done. This case also highlights the challenges faced by law enforcement in responding to such crimes. Officers rely heavily on public cooperation, surveillance footage, and rapid data sharing across jurisdictions. In Taylor's case, those systems worked, but not quickly enough to save her. Her story, though horrifying, is not unique. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, nearly 1 in 3 female murder victims are killed by an intimate partner. Every year, thousands of women are abducted or murdered by men they once knew, often without any prior warning that would warrant legal intervention. Taylor Mirage's life was stolen in a moment of irreversible violence, but her memory is now a call to action. Since her death, local organizations have begun pushing for increased funding for domestic violence hotlines, trauma-informed police training, and education programs in schools and universities about the signs of unhealthy relationships. There's also been renewed discussion about legal reforms, such as expanding gun restrictions for individuals with histories of harassment or emotional abuse, even if they haven't been convicted of a violent crime. Taylor's death is a wound that still aches in the hearts of her family and community. But her story also reminds us that awareness, vigilance, and proactive support systems can mean the difference between life and death for someone silently enduring abuse. In the end, we must ask, how do we better protect the vulnerable before the violence starts? What signals do we continue to miss? And how can we ensure that the next Taylor Mirage gets the help she needs before it's too late? Because for Taylor, and so many others, the warning signs were there. But the clock ran out. She was 24 years old. Her future was just beginning. And now, her name joins a growing list of women who never got to finish their stories.